Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Charlton Live, sponsored by PSF Steel Limited. My name is Louis Meadows. Hope you guys are okay on your Sunday morning. On this week's show, then we'll be looking back at our first league defeat of the campaign. The Addicts turned over 2-0 at Reading yesterday. Joining us to look back at that game, first up, top right, Nathan Muller. How you doing, Nath?
Living the dream, mate, yourself. A bit of a crash back down to earth that yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, a bit of a frustrating one, certainly, which we'll go into. We weren't the only people frustrated or disappointed, as we'll find out later on in the show. Joe Puddifoot joins us on the bottom of the screen. First show of the season for Joe. How you doing, Joe? All right?
Yeah, good. I'm so excited to have saved my first appearance for a defeat. That's exactly what I was trying to do. Not really. But we'll go into it. But it'll be. I'm not too doom and gloom at this point. I think there's still plenty of positives. Even I think there's positives.
Yeah. Well, we'll go through the details. But I mean, as someone who's been accustomed to being really negative myself over the last few years, weirdly, I wasn't as down as a lot of people yesterday, and certainly not as down as the manager, Nathan Jones, who we will hear from later in the show. I mean, I'm sure you've all seen his interview with Terry. I did a different interview with Nathan as well, where he was equally frustrated, which we'll hear later on in the show. We'll hear the goals shortly. We'll hear from the skipper as well, Greg Docherty. Came to speak to me after the game, which as someone who for over the last few years there's been a bit of a lack of accountability amongst playing staff as well. It's good to see the skipper stepping up and giving interviews after a defeat, because that hasn't always happened as well. So we'll hear from him later in the show. I want to hear from you guys as well. Morning to everyone in the chat there. Sam was first one in, says morning. Definitely I wouldn't like to be near Nathan, going by how annoyed he was during his interview with Terry yesterday. And like I say, you'll hear my interview with him as well. He was equally frustrated at that point. Gary says, morning everyone, we were all over the place in the first half, couldn't get to grips with them. Yeah, let us know your thoughts on yesterday's game and the performance. Email us studio@charltonlive.co.uk, tweet us at Charlton Live, or the best thing to do is to comment live in the YouTube chat. That's where I'm most likely to see it. So yeah, morning to everyone who's in there. Keith and Joseph, Stuart, John's in there, Dudley Spamfish as well. Loads of you in there. Give us your thoughts on yesterday's performance. Nath, it's the first defeat. Perfect start comes to an end. First time we've conceded goals this season as well. How did you see yesterday's game overall?
Yeah, it was a bit of a difficult one, really. I think I was similar to you, really. I was quite not laughing. It wasn't funny, obviously, but I wasn't as down as I was last year. I think the annoying thing, or the frustrating thing rather, is I'll have it right. I think they were the better side, and we had a little bit of a flurry second half, but first half we were off it. And we have those days, and it was just a little bit of a reality check. But for me, it was the way that we conceded the goals that I think were probably most frustrating, really. But I'm not going to get too down about it. It's still been a decent start. But first half we were well off it. I think obviously Nathan's touched on his interview, and it was one of those games where you're thinking, right, if we like similar to Wigan, really, if you try and stay in the game, you get a little bit of a set piece, but even still, our XG on set pieces ain't great. And yeah, it was just a bit of a disappointing one, really. We had that little bit of hope the second half, and then the second goal takes the sting out of the game. And but again, not too down, still good start. We've got plenty of games to play, but we need to cut those sort of errors out and switching off if we're going to win more games and lose them.
Certainly. Right, well, let's have a listen back to the goals then briefly from Charlton TV. Your commentators, well, Steve Brown was alongside Terry Smith and Greg Stubley.
Coventry trying to match Elliott. He couldn't do so, and Reading brilliant with Savage. Thinks about a shot and goes for it, Savage, and scores from distance. And after the last 10 minutes or so, it's been constant Charlton pressure. It's a brilliant strike from range to open the scoring for the hosts.
Yeah, and for the first time this season, Charlton conceding a league game, and it's a spectacular strike, to be fair. You have to be that accurate, I think, from that distance to beat Mannion. It's low, it's hard, it's a good 25 yards out, and it skims off the inside of Mannion's right-hand post. He has very little chance to get across and make a save low down. Such is the accuracy and power. It's further than 25, it's more like 28. It's a very, very good strike from Savage. And it was a shame because Coventry just got in front of his man and made a nick in the opponent's half, and you thought he'd won it and we were on the front foot, and we went, and he didn't quite get enough on the touch, and it allowed Reading to break. We didn't do a lot wrong defensively there. The gaps had opened up. We backed off to the edge of the 18-yard box. You've got to give Savage credit for the power and accuracy on the left-footed strike pass.
And everybody, Jones trying to pick it up, scampers across to the left-hand side, and allows the ball to go out of play because, well, he feels the keeper touched it. The referee thinks otherwise, gives it a Reading throw, and they're trying to break quickly. Akande, who had that chance for Reading moments earlier, on the run down their right-hand side. Small across. Akande trying to take him on the outside, gets the cross in, and it's a touch and an easy finish from Sam Smith, and Charlton opened up with the breakaway and are now 2-0 down.
Yeah. And I guess the decision is, you know, we've allowed the ball to go out of play thinking that the goalkeeper got a touch. But even if he hasn't and the referee's decision is right, you've got to stay mentally switched on behind the ball, which Charlton didn't there. They switched off and Reading absolutely exploited it. The cross, I will say, from Akande is first class, and we've already seen Smith lose his man at the front post once this game, which he couldn't get a touch on, and this time all he had to do was make contact, which he did, guided it past Mannion. Charlton 2-0 down.
There we go. That's the highlights of yesterday's defeat over at Reading on Charlton TV, Joe. So at half time, I was telling everyone who would listen, like, you know, even though we've not been anywhere near our best, we've still not given up chances. So I was thinking, like, I really feel like this is poised, and we had a couple of our own in that first half. I really felt like it was poised for us to go on and step it up in that second half, and we did. And that's why genuinely I found I was so disappointed when those 2 goals went in yesterday. It felt like a real gut punch. I mean, the majority of last season I was either sort of almost nonplussed, like I've been ground into just not caring anymore, or I was angry because we were playing like particularly badly. But yesterday was more frustrated because I felt like it was there for the taking, but we fell asleep definitely once, arguably twice, and that's what's cost us.
Yeah, well, I mean, at half time, I was saying we look solid, even though we're poor, we look solid, and that gives you a lot of confidence. You can go and change things in the second half. But when we were on top, it's we had to take that moment there really to score the goal. And I think that for us this season, unless we start to get a little bit more creativity and a little bit more of a goal threat in us, it's going to be first team to score wins, you know, most of the season. And the first goal, it's just, even the first goal, I know Nathan was fuming with the second one, but there was a number of decisions where people just let players get the wrong side of them. Coventry, first of all, let someone get the wrong side of him, open up the midfield. Doc didn't react. He didn't go and actually close the man down. He kind of marked space. And then they were through on the defence, and Mitchell, who was like stuck between Devil and the deep blue sea, had a runner off his shoulder and someone running at him with the ball. And he didn't really make a decision until it was too late. So that then is like a massive sucker punch. And if you're not looking amazing, like you're going to create a load of goals, I think that when you do go a goal down, it's going to be even harder for you to sort of rally around and get that response that you want. Even still, I think we huffed and puffed, but you know, there wasn't like the games previously where there was so many gilt-edged chances that you were like, well, okay, we probably deserved it on the balance of play. I think it's just a really bad day at the office, and it does show the weakness in that midfield in terms of, you know, Berry was ill yesterday and he had to play, and he was miles off it in the first half. And then when we brought Anton on, he brings the legs, but who in the middle was controlling that ball and really dictating and taking that game by the scruff of the neck? And I think that's really where the difference between the two sides were, because Smith did that for them.
I mean, talk about the goals first then, as Joe mentioned, the first one. I mean, you could argue that Mitchell could have closed Savage down. You could argue that Coventry was sort of dragged away from position a little bit. Mannion out of position as well. That's something that Nathan Jones alludes to in the interview, Nathan. I don't know if I sent someone put on Twitter earlier like a still frame of where Mannion's position was when Savage shot, and it does look to be a bit too far over to the far side and wrong. So there were moments. There's always going to be moments in goals that you concede, but Nathan was clearly very upset with the manner of the 2 goals that we let in yesterday, and that sort of goes against everything that we believe this side is going to be about, which is the structure. As soon as they got through us once, we looked a little bit out of position, like a few of us did.
Yeah, I think first half, in terms of position, I think first half they were just getting in their space on their inside right or inside left, and they were just, it was too easy, and we were off. But obviously, it's been alluded to that Berry was ill, and probably one of the reasons why there was a lot of space down there. But yeah, the goal. Again, I'm not going to profess to be a world-class goalkeeper, but yeah, you look at the starting position of Man United, it's questionable. And he also had that little bit of a hairy moment when his first touch was off. So don't know if that's, now he knows that the window's closed. He thinks he's definitely got the number one shirt and he's taking his eye off the ball. But listen, yeah, it happens. But yeah, the first goal yesterday was just interesting because usually so far this season, you see us have like a block, not physically, but we have quite a big solid structure of a block. And it's the first time that I can remember, I'm probably wrong, but the first time I remember someone being able to get a shot off, and they've got and it's obviously done a good shot there, Savage. But last year that was happening frequently in games. And Joe rightly said it. Look, Mitchell was sort of caught when his decision didn't know what to do, and by the time he made it, it was too late. But so yeah, it was a difficult one really. But again, I still think where we lose the ball on that transition, we're so advanced because we have one possession, and then they nick it, and then they're on the break, and then they're running towards you to our back four, which no defence like, and they just popped it off. So I think yesterday it was just all round. I mean, I said at the beginning, I don't think we deserve to get anything out of the game. I know we had a little bit of a flurry, but they took risks. They had shots from outside the box, and we don't. And they looked, at times in that first half, very, very dangerous, and will probably consider themselves a little bit unlucky. They didn't go 1-0 up, so disappointing. But yeah, we've got loads of games to play, but it's something for Nathan to work on a little bit of a reality check that you're off it, and you don't stay in games and try and win the set plays. Then you can easily go 1-0 down on wonder strikes or mistakes, which happened yesterday.
Yeah, Keith says that was a reality check yesterday. Joseph says, our first therapy session of the season. I wouldn't want to be one of the players after seeing Nathan Jones's post-match interview raging off my nut. And yes, Stuart said first therapy session as well. The second goal, I haven't seen a replay of whether the goalkeeper punched it or not. My initial reaction at the time was I thought he might have got a little tickle on it, but it's hard to tell. And obviously Lloyd Jones made a decision there that, in hindsight, I guess you say you wouldn't make it because you can never trust a ref. You can never know for certain what they've seen and what they haven't seen. But I mean, Nathan was raging off his nut about what followed. I mean, you could even argue that Lloyd should have held on to the ball for 4 seconds while he walked away with it so everyone could get in position. But we were very slow to react. Thierry didn't stop the cross when I think it was Akande had it on that far side. The movement from Sam Smith, actually, if you watch it back, is impressive. It's one of those runs from a striker where he darts one way and then cuts into the space that he's just created. But obviously, again, I think it's Coventry and Mitchell between them are the two that can't negate that run from him, and we get beaten there, and yeah, I mean Nathan was fuming with that.
Yeah, quite rightly. It's the thing is, like, the defense has been so solid all season, but it just looked like from the moment that we thought that throw-in was ours, that we had sort of given up with the idea that we were going to defend it after that. It was like, well, it should have been our throw-in. That's all we had in our heads as we were jogging back. And it was very much jogging back. If you look across the line, I'm not sure Mitchell has the pace to get there anyway, but he's hardly busting a lung to be the last man in that defence again. And Coventry's all over the place when he's trying to work out where Smith is. By the time Smith has made his run, if you watch it slowly, he's actually checking the other side to see where he is. And it's only when he can't see any Reading player that he realises he's completely lost him. And that's a weakness in that defence that has been shown there. But it's the fourth game. If we let in one bad goal every 4 games, we'll definitely be conceding a lot less goals than most teams in this division because we are at League One level. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't expect more and that Jones's standards shouldn't be higher, but I'm kind of okay with it if it's going to be that rarer foray. My concern more than us off the ball yesterday was us on the ball, because they had a lot of the play, and we didn't really know how to control that game at any point. Even when we were on top, it was on top, but it was a bit harem scarum, and they looked very solid and compact at the back, so it didn't look like we were breaking them down. And if you're having to throw the kitchen sink at teams to try and score goals, then you are going to be exposed at the back. But 5 players back, we should probably have stopped it overall.
What did you make of that first half then, Nathan? So like I said, I mean, Reading had the vast majority of possession in the first period. So overall possession was 55-45 in their favour, but in the first half, I think it was nearer 65. But like I said, I was texting the group at half time. I felt like we were holding them at arm's length, and then we clearly, I mean, we had the 2 best chances. TC should have done better with the one where he slashed wide from the edge of the box, and Berry, I think, forced the goalkeeper into a good save right on the stroke of half time with that cross from the right hand side from Docherty. So I felt like this was the first time I'd been under a bit of pressure for 45 minutes, but they were holding them at arm's length. So I was generally thinking like we're sticking in there, and that's why it became such a disappointment with how the second half panned out, because I thought we were setting it up to go and nick that, and we were almost having not played great, we almost had them where we needed them at half time.
Yeah, I think as we've all said, the first half we were quite solid, but that's good for 50% of the game. I mean, before the game, I don't know what it is now, but before the game, I'm pretty sure we were bottom in terms of shots per game in the league, and Reading are in the top 4. So we knew they were going to pop off shots from range, and we very rarely, make shots. I think that the first half, there was such a gap in between our midfield and our strikers. If you're playing wing backs, they're going to offer your width. So if they're not offering the width and they were pushed back, which are Small and Ramsey were, the only way you're going to get forward is if you get your midfield runners beyond your front 2, and that wasn't happening. So as soon as it was going up to a Hadmi or TC, it was just coming straight back. So it seems like the second half, Nathan made some changes, and we were able to get closer to Reading and get further up the pitch a lot quicker. And that's when I think we had that little bit of a flurry, and our wing backs were higher. But I think that it was just an off day, and it was like, it's great to see that we're a lot more solid than last year. But like I said after the Bolton game, what we had to do first, which I think we're doing, is focusing on the defence and getting that solidity in there, and then you start building in terms of creativity and improving that the shots per game and stuff. Because it's like, if we go 1-0 down after these first 4 games, if we go 1-0 down, I know it only happened yesterday, but do we have enough, what we've seen after 4 games, to go and win a game 2-1? As of now, I can't see it, but it's very early days, and we've still got lots to improve on. But I think that was the most disappointing thing for me.
We did have our chances in the game. Also, I've mentioned those 2 in the first half. Second half was more about sort of territory and pressure that we were putting them under, particularly at the start of that second half. I mean, Tyrese Campbell absolutely burst into life in like a 5-minute spell, where it all started with him doing similar to what he did to Santos last week, actually, but nipping in the penalty area to win a bouncing ball. And then there was one bit where he absolutely skinned a defender and went for a pullback that got cut out. And then there's another one where he hit a first-time cross, which I think Hadme should have been gambling on at the far post, but was unable to. And that's when I really thought, right, we're going to turn it on now. There was a chance for Docherty that he fired over the bar. Just before that, there was what looked like a blatant handball. Again, they don't seem to be showing it on any replay, so I haven't had a chance to look back at it. But I was very keenly watching the reaction of the dugout after that. So they sort of appealed for it. Then they all went to watch the screen, and then they really appealed for it. So they obviously thought there was something in there. So we did have our moments yesterday, and you just wish that maybe we did have that clinical edge at the start of that second half that might have given us a foothold in that game, Joe.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, when it comes to that clinical edge, and that's the difference between the 2 goals for me, their second goal and the one that we didn't get with the Hadmi at the far post is that pace up top, and the pace to get there and make the most of those sort of chances they're coming across. But we're gonna, I think, generally break teams down by just being a lot more physical than them and winning the ball high and turning it over. And yesterday, Reading really stretched us. So when they were playing about with it at the back, they didn't have any deep midfielders sitting in there looking for the ball. They pushed everybody up top. So there was this gaping chasm between the early press and the defence. So when the ball then does get played through, firstly, it's easier to play through the press if you're not going to go fully man for man. And when it does come through, you've got a lot of players in a short space in the pitch to take advantage. And we never really got on top of that. And therefore, we didn't create the type of chances that we were creating a week ago against Bolton, where we were winning it high and turning it over. And we did have that little spell, but we didn't maintain it. And I think that maybe I'd have probably left TC on at that stage. I know he pulled him off to freshen up the strikers, but he was the one player that was creating, was looking tricky. They didn't really know how to deal with. And we didn't really replace him with a like-for-like threat in that regard. So I think we've probably weakened our chances of scoring a goal, but we've got to find a way, I think, to unlock a defence with more than winning the ball and a bit of physicality, because there are going to be games this season where you need that little bit of magic, that little bit of X factor, Raksaki, a Blackett Taylor, for instance, to just skin someone and get the ball across. And I think that's meant to be our wing backs, but it just didn't work for us yesterday.
Yeah, so I guess there's going to be a reliance on TC to be that man at the moment, or Kahim Dixon when he comes in, but I imagine that won't be for a little while. I don't know who else could play that role. Obviously, the question about the front two that started the games so far this season, it's come in a few times in the chat. I mean, David said just an observation, but all Charlton's promotions since Jimmy Seed, we had at least one striker who scored plenty of goals. Even Pearson got 15 in the 85-86 season. I mean, Gary's saying we're not creating enough chances. Isaac saying I think we might need to make changes up to the top of the pitch. Gas hasn't had better than a 5 out of 10 so far, and no end product from TC so far. I mean, what are we making of that front two so far, Nathan? I mean, is it time to change? I mean, it's one defeat. We can't forget that. But obviously, we've not been free scoring this season. I hadn't even realised this, but on the highlight show last night, they mentioned we were the lowest scorers in the top 8. So we're not a side that's scoring hatfuls of goals at the moment.
Yeah, I mean to be fair to Gas, I think first off he done bits okay yesterday. I think it's probably best I've seen him so far, but he still doesn't look quite sharp. I don't know if he's still getting over his injury or whatever, but it's just that we don't look sharp. There's not really a partnership forming yet with him and TC. You've then got the conundrum do you start Godden and Gasson had me, but then you lose that pace altogether. I know Godden's no slouch, but he's obviously no TC. But I still think it's not as if we're creating loads and I know we created a few yesterday. It's not like we're creating loads and loads and Gas is missing loads of chances. I just don't think they're getting much service apart from really balls over the top, over the back line, which TC runs onto. I don't think we're creating enough. So I don't think it's all on Gas and on just him himself. I just think we need to be. I think Joe said it perfectly that we are physical and we can win the ball, and that's great. But there are also other times where you might have to be a little bit more creative with a little bit more ingenuity, maybe just something different. Instead of having that industrious, like we're going to win the ball off you, there will be times where you've got to ask for something more. So I think it'd be interesting, and there'll be some games, where you can bring Chuks on and he's going to affect a game. But you bring Godden and Chuks on, you're just going to have all the centre halves look at TC going off and go, fine, we'll go up another 20 yards then. They ain't going in behind us. Chuks ain't going to run the channels. So obviously there's room for improvement up front, but I don't think it's all their fault. I still think there's something in terms of depth. Like Berry came off, the depth in the midfield is like, Anderson's very industrious again, but is he one that's going to score you loads of goals and get you loads of assists? For me, not right now. So again, you're then hindered by that sub. But I just think it's a lot more than just Gasson's performance or TC's.
I mean, Mickey's saying only chance is a ball over the top and we have no one who's clinical. Trim says TC simply not good enough. Should have scored yesterday. Dean saying that the front two, TC and Hadmay, shouldn't be The two up top, they are toothless. We still got loads more of your comments to come to, but I think we should get into the interview now a bit earlier than I normally would, just because obviously the interview with Terry was a very big talking point yesterday, and the one I did was pretty similar, not quite as abrupt, I'd say. But I mean, we obviously want to talk about what Nathan Jones had to say yesterday. So after the defeat up over at Reading, I spoke to the Addicts boss, and he gave me his thoughts. Nathan, it's a first defeat of the season. How did you see the game today?
I'm really disappointed. We lacked energy, you know. We lacked energy first half. I know exactly. Well, I think I know why, but we were poor first half in terms of the energy getting to them. We couldn't affect the game. We couldn't really step onto them. We had chances on the counter, but we had no. So that was what. Second half, I thought we were much better. We were on top. It's just they've taken a goal from 30 odd yards, which I feel we can do better. And then and then the second goal's it's not us. Second goal's for me a disgrace in terms of our defending. And then in between, before that we had a Stonewall penalty, which should have been, but we weren't at it today. And a lot of reasons for that.
What would you think the reasons were in that first half?
I know, but I'm not going to say. I'll deal with that moving forward.
The irony being, of course, that opening goal seemed to come where Charlton were at their strongest in the game today.
Yeah, and that's it. So there's no excuse really in terms of that. They got out of the press and then they've shot from 30 yards. Our goalkeeper could be in a better position, but I'm not sure he saves it anyway. His position wasn't great, but I'm not sure he saves it. Goes in off the post. It's a good strike. Sometimes you have to. I mean, and then if we hadn't scored the second, I could come in and say, well, the only time people score against us is from outside the box 30 yards, so it takes a good goal to score from us. Second goal's a disgrace, absolute disgrace. And our body language and what we do, we switch off, whether it's our ball or not. Lloyd lets it go because he thinks it's our ball, but then as soon as they pick the ball up, they switched on. We don't. We allow them to run off us. We then got 5 back and he gets a thing. For me, it's disgrace. I'll deal with that side of it, but there's lots leading into it, which I'm really disappointed about. Yeah, I guess the decision could have gone either way with that throw, but it's how you react to that, and it was 10 seconds, the ball was in the net at the other end. Yeah, it's terrific defending, and I'll deal with that side of it, but then I'll also deal with the side of it, the other thing, because I'm disappointed on all levels today.
Can you try and take some positives from particularly the start of that second half?
When we are what we are, then we're a good side, but it took us 45 minutes to be what we are, and by that time we didn't get any grip of the game. We came out second half, we were better. There's a few illnesses today. Luke Berry was ill, Tenai Watson was ill. We get to the hotel late, we don't eat on time, we get here, lots of things.
Yeah, I was going to ask about Luke coming off at half time, so he came off with illness.
Yeah.
Is it just something that will hopefully be over and done with quite quickly then?
Well, yeah. Look, we've got a week now to prepare for the thing. And look, the positives are you're taking 9 from 12 the first month. But today I'm yeah.
You're concentrating more on the performance than anything else. But I'm just going to ask you about the potential handball for the penalty. For potential penalty, did you have a look at the replay yet?
Yeah, it's a Stonewall penalty. And look, we haven't got VAR. We haven't got thing. He's got to see that. Like, he has to see it. He didn't, so fair enough.
Obviously, the most important thing now after the event is how you react to it next week.
Absolutely, it's our first defeat, and we lost here last year, and we similar circumstances. Nothing really in the game. We don't really, but that was my first game. I expected us to be better today, but we weren't for some reason. And first off, we just looked dead. We looked energyless, like we didn't. People were coming out of tackles. They were running beyond us, and that's not us. We normally are at it, but. Look, I have my own theory on that, which I'll deal with.
Cool. And obviously away from today with the window shutting yesterday, Scott Fraser left. I spoke about him with you at Dartford. Is he just not the sort of player that you saw going forward with here at Charlton?
No, look, that was a decision we made early, and yeah.
Yeah, and just fine. In January after the window closed, you ended up looking at free agents in case there was any areas of the squad that you still wanted to improve. Is that still likely to be the case this time around? We'll see
what we are able to do, and whatever. Look, we've had a good window. strengthened the squad considerably, significantly. So yeah, we'd like to keep adding and a bit more quality. We know we can't compete with certain people and so on, but look, it's been a good window in terms of everything. We've brought in people that that have significantly improved us, but today's disappointing on every level. And I can't hide my disappointment. I can't hide my disappointment for stuff that we can affect, and that's what really, really rips me apart.
PSF Steel Limited is a trade supplier of steel fabrication and erection services to the new build, construction and refurbishment market in southern England. With their unrivaled depth of experience, they excel at providing their customers with high quality and cost-effective steel fabrication solutions. Their customers include national and regional house builders, such as Barratt Homes, Bellway Homes, the Vistry Group and Taylor Wimpey. They pride themselves on their service-based ethos and commitment to customer service excellence, which includes full technical backup and on-site services and support. If you would like more information, go to www.psfsteel.co.uk. That's www.psfsteel.co.uk.
Hello, fellow addicts. I'm so excited to tell you all about our micropub, the River Ale House. The River Ale House is based in East Greenwich. It has 6 Pub of the Year awards, an ever-changing selection of amazing beer. It's owned by Charlton fans, walkable to the ground in just 20 minutes with buses that go direct to the Valley too. If your matchday routine includes a drink with your friends, you must join your fellow addicts in the River. See you soon.
Right, welcome back to Charlton Live on your Sunday morning. Hope you're enjoying our group therapy session as we look back at our first league defeat of the campaign. I mean, Nathan Jones certainly sounded like he needed a group therapy session after yesterday's game. As Chris said, he wasn't happy yesterday. He was certainly more angry in the interview with Terry. So Terry went second yesterday, which is unusual. So I think Nathan had probably just about had enough of having to go over the game, and he had to do it twice. He was upset with a lot of things, and I'm trying to work out if the fact that he mentioned, as Chris has said there, is about what time you have your dinner. He said something about being late to the hotel and eating late and the routine being out. I mean, was that part of it? Am I reading too much into that? I mean, he left a lot of stuff to our imagination, but then he said that. So could that be why he thought we were off it in the first half? Surely there's more to it than what time you have your chicken and your pasta.
It maybe sounds like the whole of the prep up to the game wasn't right, but I mean, if it is the fact that the coach driver got lost on the way, it'll be the first time in history that the coach driver's not allowed on the coach home. So it'd have been a long journey home for all the lads. But I think that he's a perfectionist is how it comes across, and so if he's put plans in place and then for whatever reason people are dropping the ball and then that's impacting on a Saturday, then he's probably going to hold the tea lady to the same standards that he holds the players to. And I've said a few times, I can't imagine like being in his family at school sports day, and you have your breakfast a little bit late, and then you're absolutely lamented on the sideline because you were slow on the race. But I think he's just that kind of guy who brings that energy to absolutely everything he does. I think even if we'd have won yesterday 5-0 and all those things would still be wrong, he still would have been fuming about them because he would have thought we could have won 7. And it's that kind of standards that we just haven't had as fans and as a club for so long. That it feels almost like foreign to us that we're going to be at that level. But if we miss out on playoffs at the end of the season by 2 or 3 points, then he'll be looking back at a catalogue of errors that he feels cost us some right at the start of the season, and he'll still be remembering that game for a long time.
I mean, we are guessing here whether that's the reason he thought we were low energy first half, Nathan. But like I say, it was mentioned, and preparation is important. Gary says prep makes a big difference. I mean, Norman's saying maybe he thought that the players were complacent, and he'll be angry with that. But he is clearly a perfectionist, as Joe said, and I think that possibly set his mood running yesterday. One question that has come up quite a few times is he overreacting to an extent? Is it healthy to be that upset after a defeat? Where, I mean, I said on air yesterday, and I saw a couple of people mention it on forums. Like, I don't think we were that bad. Like we were reacting as if this was one of last season's performances, and I didn't think we were that bad. We weren't great. We didn't win. We let in silly goals, but I've seen us play a lot worse than that over the last few years. Spam saying the most worrying thing was Jones' reaction. He acted like a petulant, angry toddler. Managers need to be pragmatic, rational, realists sometimes. Otherwise, that stuff bleeds into the players. I mean, that is Nathan. We've seen that before. We've seen those interviews, those clips that go around when he lost a game at Blackburn with Luton and he thought he was going to be physically sick. He is a manager who reacts like that to a defeat. Bear in mind, this is the first time we've seen him lose a match of importance. You know, obviously, last time at Reading was his first match, and no one's going to lay the blame on someone after 3 days. The only other time we'd lost a league game was on the last day of the season, and to be honest, he was pretty fuming then. I don't think, I never would have shared that interview because we would have done the Player of the Year dinner the next day, so you never heard that post-match interview. But he was angrier than you'd expect for a game. I just sort of like wrote it off as an end of season whatever, but he doesn't take losing very well, and at some point, how he feels will go across to the squad, and either it will drive standards, or they think, "Core blimey, we can't even have half an off day without getting absolutely hammered in the press."
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I mean with Nathan, he says what he thinks, and in my opinion, I like it. I prefer a manager to be like that instead of just someone who comes out and go, "Oh yeah, we weren't good enough. We go again next week," sort of thing. Like, I get, as long as he's not literally publicly battering players, you know, back to, you know, like I loved Bo, but like what he'd done to Johnny Williams and that sort of stuff. Yeah, I get it. But listen, we've brought Nathan in because we've been lulling around in League One with no standards, with no care in the world, with people not really wanting to play, or doesn't look like they want to play for this football club. And if it means that he's going to come out and be upset when he's angry, then I'm all for it, provided it's not personal. He said the second goal was a disgrace yesterday, and I think every single one of us said it wasn't good enough. I don't know if I'd say it's a disgrace, but this is Nathan and his standards. He's brought all these good players, experienced players from higher divisions, just FYI, to say you're playing for Charlton in League One. Like you said about Alan Campbell, you're not coming to play in League One, you're coming to play for Charlton. And I think that's the sort of standards I want. And if something does go out of kilter, whether it's, you know, the eggs weren't cooked properly, yeah, some people may think that it's, you know, it's a bit OTT, but that's just opinions, isn't it? It's like, I don't really mind as long as it doesn't get to personal. I think players they can take criticism, they've had it all their life, but as long as it don't get too personal, which I don't think it has been, then I see no issues with it whatsoever. And I'd rather him show his passion and, you know, be disappointed when we lose, which we all are. We're all disappointed. We didn't say it was lack of effort. He didn't say, "Oh, no one tried." We just said we were off it. We weren't at our best, and he's just been brutally honest.
No. For those of you who follow Nozzer on Twitter, Dave Norris, and he said something that did make me smile yesterday. It's like, some of the squads we've had over the years of layabouts probably could have done with a Nathan Jones telling them off, or a Bo telling them off. But yesterday, it just felt a little bit. To me, I was, like I say, I was surprised. Again, I referenced on Radio London yesterday. I don't know if me and Nathan have obviously become accustomed to very different standards over the years, and that did happen in a game with Bo once away at Accrington Stanley, a game we drew 1-1, where I was just like, well, I didn't think we were that bad, and Bo came out fuming, and I was a bit taken aback, and I was a little bit like that yesterday. But yeah, it's it was different. I certainly take that, and it will show that there are levels, and if you don't hit those, then it's you're going to be in trouble. I mean, Luke says, "I'm not accepting being late for dinner, not being able to run around the pitch. I used to drink a Red Bull and have a sausage roll half an hour before a Sunday league game, and I still kept running." I mean, Luke was asked later on in the chat by Dudley if that was after 10 pints the night before as well. But Luke, ever the consummate professional, said he only'd have 5 on the nights before a game because he wanted to be at the top of his game. I used to play 5-a-side on a Thursday, and once on a Thursday lunchtime I went for an all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet, and that night scored 6 goals, so I became convinced I had to have a Chinese. So every Thursday I'd have a Chinese before the game, and it did me no harm. Never turned professional though, actually, Jane. Now you mention it. One of the things that we haven't possibly mentioned yesterday is we've been saying a lot about how Will Mannion's looked good so far because he hadn't had anything to do, but he had a couple of moments yesterday. Obviously, spoke about the potential positioning for the goal. He had an absolute horror show in possession there where a Kande nicked the ball off him. And again, Ramsey with a goal-saving challenge. We've seen him do a couple of times now. But that would be the first moment of slight concern with the new goalkeeper.
Yeah, I mean, I said on Thursday we could have Bob Boulder in goal and we would still be all right. And Mannion definitely put pay to that yesterday with his mistakes. But I think the position in the first goal is, I think you can question it. But at the same time, he couldn't have hit it any further to the left without it going in. So it was a bit of a worldie and 1 in 100. But the absolute calamity at the back. And I still don't understand what happened or how he ended up in such a tangle. It wasn't like he was under a load of pressure. He just seemed to buffer for a while. And then all of a sudden he was under immense pressure with someone breathing down his neck. Ramsey's tackle, unbelievable. Like, unbelievable. I'm actually surprised he didn't get sent off just because the referee didn't believe he got the ball. It was that good of a tackle. And even then, after Mannion did somehow scramble to get the ball, did enjoy Coventry coming and kicking it straight out of his hands to put us under a bit more pressure as well, as Keystone Cops wasn't enough.
Yeah, the only thing I didn't notice until this morning is I'm fairly confident Mannion handballs the ball outside the area as well when he's trying to scramble back.
I haven't caught that bit, but I mean that would just be the final nail in the coffin. But you know, at least it's taken us 4 games to end up with an absolute disaster class. So normally we're 4 minutes into a game before something's gone wrong. So standards are better, but he'll that's a wake up call for him. And if he's gonna have an absolute howler, I'd rather it be in a game that we probably would lose anyway, as opposed to, you know, at the end when we're 1-0 up and looking, you know, coasting, he just chucks one in his net.
Yeah, it was a scary moment. I thought I sort of saw him walking pitch side after the game, and he looked a little bit shell shocked. Actually, I felt, maybe a wake up call for everyone. Just getting a few more reactions to that Nathan Jones interview. Michael says, I completely support his standards. We need that here. We can't keep accepting how poor we've been over the last few years. Isaac says, I agree with Nathan. It shows he's passionate. Sam says, I loved that he didn't really have a go at any individual player, although he did slightly with Mannion with the positioning. But he says, I did feel like one more question he was going to deck Terry in Terry's interview. I can imagine Terry was like, I'm going to get out of here as soon as physically possible at this stage. Michael says it was so frustrating yesterday, the second half. We were all over them. Their first goal was their first shot on target. I think we're still missing a goal scorer when Leeburn returns. It will feel like a new signing. Yeah, it will be interesting to see how much of a difference he'll make. James, in reaction to the interview, says, morning all, I know I'll be in a minority here, but I don't think the interview is a good look. There's admirable passion, and then there's coming across badly. It's a fine line sometimes. Certainly mixed reaction. I guess if you look at the reaction of opposition fans, I think Nathan, when he's not your manager, I don't think he's particularly well liked. We've had plenty of characters like that over the course of our time supporting Charlton. I mean, Lyle Taylor was a great example, actually. When he was playing for us, we loved him. When he decided not to, not so much. And when he officially left, it got even worse. So, a couple of emails came in as well. We're going to hear from Greg Docherty as well in a few moments' time. McSquared said, without reading too much into it, yesterday's defeat serves as a timely reality check that we're still far from being the finished article. Apart from having a couple of clear-cut chances ourselves, the Royals were easily the better side on the day and fully deserving of their win. For once, we seemed to lack energy, and although the defending was good in the main, we were under the cosh for long periods and kept giving the ball away throughout the match. Reading's first goal was top class, but their second was an absolute gift, owing to our embarrassing lack of concentration. Several players were off their game. No wonder Nathan was fuming in his post-match interview. Our performance was terrible overall. I wouldn't be surprised if the hairdryer came out in the dressing room in the aftermath. And Lee said, okay, a defeat, but to be honest, I thought we defended well, and Reading did too. My worry is the no goals in 4 games from the front 2 so far. They've not had many chances, though, to be fair, so that needs to improve. TC put in a great ball in the second half, but Hadmay was not in the 6-yard box quick enough. It could have been different if the ref played on with TC through and scored, but it's all ifs, buts, and maybes. Chris says, I didn't even like Lyle Taylor when he played for us. Fair enough. John says, who cares what opponents think? Yeah, that's a very good point. And Chris says, being a negative Nancy, our wins have come against Wigan in 21st, Orient in 24th, and Bolton in 18th. So we haven't actually beaten anyone good yet. Bolton, they got turned over by Exeter at home yesterday, and the pressure is really ramping up now on Ian Evatt. Leyton Orient, actually in their first couple of games, although now in hindsight, when you think about it, they played Bolton and us, were probably a bit unlucky not to come away with anything. But they got tonked at Shrewsbury yesterday. Richie Wellens said that was the worst performance since he's gone in there. And Wigan, I thought looked all right on the first day, but as you say, where are they in the table? 21st. So yeah, have we got carried away early doors, Nathan, which we always tell ourselves we won't do? But yeah, who knows? Shall we hear from Greg Docherty? I think, as I mentioned earlier on in the show, the last few seasons, it's very rare we'd actually get to speak to a player after a defeat. So it's good they are going to start taking a bit of responsibility, and obviously as a skipper, that's the Doc's job to do. So this is what he had to say when I caught up with him pitchside at the Madstad yesterday. Greg, it's a first league defeat of the season. A tough one to take today.
It always is when you lose a game, but I feel, first half we maybe weren't just half a yard off it, maybe a yard or two, and we made a few tweaks at half time. I feel we defended the box really well though first half, and that's going to happen. There's good teams in this league all across the board, good individual players. We defended our box really well, and I actually think we should have went in ahead right on half time, but goalies made a good save, and then we come out the second half and we come out firing. We're well on top, chance after chance, getting really, really, really dangerous areas, and then unfortunately we're done with a bit of a individual quality from them, but a sucker punch from our end probably. But again, I thought the action was good, and just the second goal just can't happen. Categorically just can't happen, and we know that as a team. It's really frustrating to score from our corner. Obviously I think it was our throw in straight away, which is a frustrating thing, but we don't react well enough, and decisions are going to go against you, and it's a huge learning curve for us today.
Yeah, the irony of today being that the first goal did come when Charlton were probably at their best in the game.
Yeah, massively. I feel we were really on top, and that's again the frustrating thing, but it's this league's relentless. It can kick you when you least expect it, and we were on top and we conceded. So, but again, we reacted well, more than enough to go, and we're bringing on some good players. We're going to concede goals. It's going to happen. Again, it's the first goal in fourth game. But we need to look at the overall picture. Yeah, today was disappointing. We had a really good following. We never managed to get the win for them, or at least a draw, which is what we deserve. But 9 points from 12. New team, I think overall you'd have taken that at the start of the season. Yeah, it's a bit of an unusual situation for Charlton to find themselves behind in a game. So as captain, how do you have to sort of get them to react to that? Yeah, of course you can stay calm and cool heads, but I feel we reacted well. But I feel like we can be more confident in ourselves a bit more with the ball, particularly. But again, you're going to concede goals, but it's how you react. Now we've lost the game, so it's how we react next now. And it's good teams bounce back, and that's something that we're going to really be working on this week. We won't let up. We'll work hard, whatever the schedule's going to be, and the next game for us now is all out to go and rectify this week. At half time I was thinking Reading obviously had a lot of the ball, but Charlton were defending quite well and not giving up a great deal of chances. So Nathan just came and said he was really disappointed with aspects of the first half performance. I mean, what do you think that would have been? I think we just we turned over the ball too much. When we did win it in good areas, we turned it over, but there was moments where we got in their box, got in their half, and we had more than enough, and like I say, probably had the best chance of the whole half. So yeah, they're a good football side, Reading, give them their dues, but we maybe didn't press them well enough. But again, we tweaked at half time. That's what half time's for, and they came out second half and they couldn't live with us, which is the most frustrating thing about it. And they counter attack us, and it's a goal from 30 yards, great strike, fair play to them, but we need to stop that at source, and that's the real frustrating thing from our end. Came just before your chance, so I'm guessing you had a very good view of the potential handball. What was your view on that? Yeah, it's a handball. Again, how the ref sees it, he said no. Frustrating, and then obviously the second goal comes from our goalie punching it, and I don't see why our player would leave it if he didn't think it. But again, I'm not going to dwell on that. We focus on us. You need to react to these things. That things go your way, things don't go your way, and we need to react better to them. And that's the disappointing thing from our end. Yeah, and obviously from today, the most important thing now is been and gone is to react next week against Rotherham and to get your heads down for this week on the training ground. Massively, and that's something we will do. Again, first defeat. How you react to that is important, and yeah, it's a big test for us this week, but we'll react in the right way, and I'm full confident in the squad that will react, and with the with the backing of our fans at the stadium, at our stadium, we can yeah, we can go. It's going to be a really tough game, no doubt about it. But we can go and get the win.
Just finally, how are you feeling? Like you settled in? Obviously, been given the captain's armband. That's a lot of responsibility as well. That the manager's put his trust in you.
Yeah, really enjoying it. You know, a lot of responsibility, but I feel like we've got a lot of leaders in this team, and obviously grateful to be in this position, like I've said. But I'm enjoying the role, enjoying being part of this club, enjoying playing for this club. But this club deserves success. It needs success, and look, we've started well. Today was disappointing, but overall, first month of the season, we're in a good place, and it's a long way to go. And as long as we learn from moments like today, the moments that cost us, then again we'll continue to be in a good place.
There we go. That's the skipper, Greg Docherty, speaking to myself pitch side yesterday. What have you made of his leadership so far, Nathan, and his performances on the pitch as well?
Yeah, I think he's done okay. Obviously, he scored a screamer last week. He's, I'm not on the pitch, but I don't know if he's the most vocal one. But he's certainly one that sort of leads by example in terms of work ethic, and you know, he try and gets around G and everyone up. But I think it's just that we've said it so many times that in that industry in our players that in our midfield three, especially now. I know Alan Campbell hasn't started yet, but he'll offer something more of the same really in terms of industry. But yeah, I think he's done okay. Still early days though. It's like I said the other week, we've got further away through our midfielders matching last season, so he's popped up with one. But obviously, we've also touched on that. The creativity and that final third of our midfield, we just need to improve, because at the moment we've got Luke Berry, and you know, Joe said before we come on, you know, if Berry gets injured, it's a bit of a conundrum really what we're going to do and how we're going to replace that, because Berry does have that little bit of extra quality in the final third like we showed against Leyton Orient. I know he had a chance yesterday, but yeah, I think Docherty's done fine, but he's going to have his work cut out, and Lloyd Jones and the rest of the team, because this week they're going to have to bounce back in training and play the next game, whether that's Saturday or wherever. So they've got to bounce back now, show some resilience, and just say, you know, that was an off day, but we put it right and we go again, and you know, hopefully get the next win.
Yeah, Scott said he thought it was a really good interview by Docherty. Chris says it's the Braveheart voice that says leader to him. Chris Woodward asked the question, or said he feels like Docherty and Jones are playing a bit of good cop, bad cop. And I guess, I mean, again, there's more reactions coming into the interview. Stuart on Twitter said never seen a Charlton manager genuinely so disappointed after an away defeat, but he actually showed how the fans felt, and it was refreshing. Says fair play to the gaffer. If there is going to be and Alan says Nathan had every right to be fuming about that performance, but I mean, if there is going to be a manager who's very bad cop after a defeat, do you think that the skipper will be a bit good cop like that? I mean, I asked him what he made of that first half, because that was the one that Nathan was really disappointed in, and he said they were a couple of yards off it at times, but he also said they had a couple of good chances. So did he see it differently? I don't know, or if he is just trying to keep morale up. It's a role he's going to have to play at some point this season.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've always banged on about with managers is if you've got a specific style and there's things that you're good at and there's areas that you're probably weaker at, then you need to make sure you surround yourself with the right kind of people to balance you out. And so, I mean, I can't imagine that a world in which Jones is the good cop and the captain's the bad cop. He's going to need somebody to be his foil. And, you know, Jones is, you know, above. He's the manager. He's setting the standards, and Doc really is his man on the ground with the players, who's corralling, who's bringing them through and getting them to buy into the vision and stuff like that underneath. So I'm not against having two different styles. It's just about making sure that you get the messages across in the right way, and you've got to have the right people in the dressing room. Like, you can have a really vocal, very passionate manager if you've got the players who can take the stick. If you've got a load of people who just, as soon as, you know, times get tough, throw in the towel and hand in a transfer request, then they're not the kind of players that can play for a Nathan Jones. And so as much as he's got to surround himself at the coaching level, he's got to make sure he's bringing in the right type of characters into the group who are going to be able to stand up and take it. And he said before that, you know, when he went into Stoke and when he went into Southampton, he maybe didn't have the dressing rooms there, and he didn't have time to build it out in the right way. I don't think he would have reacted like this last season, because I think that he would have lost the dressing room like that in the second. So he's probably got the right types of characters to enable him to do that. But, you know, you've got to make sure you set the standards, but you've got to make sure that you can get the messages across in a number of different ways. And Doc putting his arm around players is going to be necessary through the season.
And like I said, I think it's a natural reaction. Like I watched, Nathan was probably out for about 3 or 4 minutes before he came over and did the interviews yesterday. He was on the phone. He's often on the phone after a game. To obviously have no idea who he's speaking to, but he obviously wants to speak to someone about performances or something. And I think that's just who he is. So sometimes you can't change that. And why would you if you've had the success that Nathan has had previously with Luton? So. Maybe he doesn't feel the need to change that. Dudley's asking if it'd be good if the club can confirm if the Rotherham game is going to go ahead or not. I mean, even after yesterday, it was unclear. I think I saw that Ashley hasn't been called up to the Australia squad, so that might mean we play it. We've got enough to get it called off if we want, and 2 of the players who were involved yesterday in Kanu and Anderson both got called up, so maybe that'll be part of it. But as it stands, we don't know. Which way that's going to go. I'll be shocked if we don't hear by tomorrow. I think there's got to be a cut off when we can make that decision. We can't get up to Friday afternoon and be actually, I don't fancy it. So I'll be shocked if we don't hear tomorrow or Tuesday at the latest. But yeah, as it stands, Rotherham's going ahead. So yeah, chance to try and put things right. One thing I did speak to Nathan Jones about yesterday is obviously the departure of Scott Fraser. And the fact that the window is closed, but after the January window, we picked up a couple of free agents. Obviously, we had those trialists with us, the likes of Hilton and Potts, so we don't know what's going to happen with them yet. And I just asked Nathan if he was open to going into that free agent market. Nathan, so potential there, and also obviously Fraser leaving. Are you surprised by that?
That's not surprised by Fraser leaving. I think when he didn't even get a squad number, the writing was on the wall. I just suppose it depends of when and not if.
Nathan said they made that decision early, didn't he? Didn't really want to get caught up into a conversation about him yesterday.
Yeah, no, but I mean now that his wages are on, I mean there's a lot of rumours in terms of what he's on and stuff, but I think surely there's some sort of movement to bring someone else in, because you look at the bodies. I mean, obviously Terry Taylor ain't made an appearance yet. Anderson's going on in and out. If we do play Saturday, Anderson's not there. Berry, is he going to be back to normal or back and well and up and running? And then all of a sudden you've got quite a big hole there in that little bit of a number sort of 10 role, or another 8. I know Alan Campbell's coming, but not surprised by Scott Fraser going, to be honest. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see if we do bring anyone else in, because I still think we're a little bit light in certain areas. But we also got to bear in mind when Miles is back, we've then got feels like we've got 88 forwards up there waiting to come on. So but yeah, I still think that hopefully there could be something to be done, because there's like a couple of positions. You get one injury, then look, you sort of all the different players ain't really going to fit into the puzzle.
Yeah, certainly. And yeah, well, we'll see how that pans out. Roland just reiterating that point about Hadmay's inability to attempt to reach that cross from TC, and Gordon wouldn't have buried it. I mean, we will have a show on Thursday if the game is going ahead, where we'll start to discuss maybe if there will be changes up top. Or changes elsewhere in the side, how we're going to go on next Saturday if the game goes ahead. If it doesn't, we won't have a show in midweek or next Sunday. So just keep your eyes peeled on the official channels, and if we're playing, we'll be about. If we're not, we won't. But we have run out of time today. Thanks to everyone who's joined us live on YouTube. I'm sure, I don't know if everyone was scrambling for tickets for the big concerts yesterday, so I know a lot of people on the way to the game were on the trains and that, but what has gone a little bit under the radar is there is also a massive event going off in Bromley today, which I'm taking the wife and kid to, in the Night Garden live at the Churchill Theatre. So I'm out of here. We're going to see Eagle Piggle and his chums. So yeah, thanks for everyone who's joined us live on YouTube today. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Thanks for your comments. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or via the podcast afterwards. Nathan and Joe, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to the pair of you as always.
Cheers, boys. We needed Eagle Peel to be in the defence yesterday, I think. But...
And sorry about my energy levels. I had my breakfast a bit late.
Excellent stuff. Right, well, this has been Charlton Live, sponsored by PSF Steel Limited. As I said, we might see you Thursday. We might not. It depends on if we're playing Rotherham next weekend. I'm Louis Mendes. Thanks for listening.